We're gonna go ahead and get the. All right. Thanks, go ahead.
Yes. How are you?
Good to see you. All right, quick introduction to me. Or a special guest.
First of all, thank all of you for showing up this morning. We are so thrilled to have a forum for our first in-person hybrid meeting. And we are graced with a TWC commissioner, the TWC commissioner representing employers, Commissioner Aaron Diverson, a dear friend and colleague. Aaron has worked his way through economic development, the governor's office, and staffing at TWC. He knows all things. Aaron, say hello. I know you are on a short ticket, but we so appreciate you dropping by.
I'm gonna take the mask off because I got to go upstairs and speak where I'll probably fall out. So just telling me I'm going to a breakfast that's not a breakfast, and so I'm gonna look forward to teasing Mike and those teams that the guys up there. Well, we're getting back to the world of travel. Laura, thank you so much for the introduction. Before I even have a few words of remarks, let me just tell you guys what you probably already know, that you have one of the best, finest, greatest CEOs that are running this agency, well respected throughout the state, well respected with our 28 other local workforce boards. And when you have a pandemic or something that we're dealing with right now, having that leadership, having that wisdom, having that guidance, Lord, we appreciate the work that you and your team are doing day in and day out. I know it's been up and down, trying to make forums, all of those kind of things, but we don't take it for granted. We appreciate everything you're doing. To our guests that are visiting us by virtually or so, this is a new way of doing things. I guess we're talking this way and that way, the hybrid meetings, but just to appreciate your leadership as the CEO, the director, chairman of the board. We appreciate all the volunteers. Carter, good seeing a bunch of old friends that I've worked with in the past and the like. The work doesn't get done without the support and the efforts of a team like yourselves. And so we don't take that for granted. We really appreciate the time and the efforts that you're putting into to making things happen here in our state. I'm a commissioner that represents the employers. And that's they advocate for over 587,000 Texas employers, 2.6 million small businesses in the state. That's where the rubber meets the road. In the world that I deal in, we always say the success of Texas is when you tie in the world's workforce, economic development, and education. Dr. Chancellor Mays over there for workforce, economic development, and education. You have workforce in this building, you have economic development happening upstairs, you have folks like Dr. May over here. That's the secret sauce for Texas. When we pull that together in the private industry, and you guys doing what you're doing in that regards, and we had nothing but success. Our elected leadership, that's another component of it. And when the elected leaders get it, that's what we do well in Texas. And that's the reason why we are for the 9th year in a row, received the Governor's Cup. That's given to a state that's the highest number of job creation awards, locations that are here. 17th year in a row, CEOs in Maine, Texas is the #1 state for doing business. And that's things that we keep getting accolades from that standpoint. And we always say that some folks might call it bragging, but in Texas, it ain't bragging if it's true. The fact of the matter is that we're taking care of business in a big, big way. And Mary, you're doing that day in and day out. It circles back to at the local level. We have a great business climate in the state. Governor Abbott has given us the green light, the commissioners, to do what we need to do to take care of business. But if we, at the end of the day, are not taking care of business at the local level, then it's not working for us at all. So, Lord, thank you for the opportunity. I serve with 2 other commissioners, Julian Alvarez and Mr. Fulbright. I want to make sure I get you introduced to Commissioner Alvarez. He represents labor. I represent the employers on that side. And then we have our chair, Brian Daniel, who represents the public as well. And so we advocate for the employers. We have docket meetings every Tuesday where I'm on the side of the employer. Commissioner Alvarez is on the side of the employee. From that standpoint, and our chair breaks the tie from that. And we work hand in hand with this region in big, big ways. And the facts that will probably be presented today, it's a result of the hard work that you guys are doing. And once again, the employers that represent on this group, we don't take your investment in our state for granted. We appreciate that investment in volunteers and all the others that are serving in various capacities, be it education, nonprofit work, and the private sector. We appreciate the work that you guys are doing. So, Lord, thank you much for the opportunity. One of the key issues that I'm working on right now, where I continue to hear from employers right now, is trying to find a labor force. It's still the same thing. Employers are back in the saddle, we say, but we're trying to get those employees back in as well. And so my office is open to any comments, any any suggestions that you guys might have one way or the other in regards to how we can do that. We're looking at one to make sure we're taking advantage of the opportunity for that to happen. So feel free to contact our office. It's so good seeing everyone once again. My first breakfast or 7:30 meeting that we had at one point. We're getting used to the joys of travel, getting back into the office and doing things. If I can do anything from our office, we want to make sure that we're doing that. And Laurie, I appreciate you extending the opportunity for me to come down and visit with you guys before I shoot upstairs. Real quick, just in where we've been into the Valley area, just came in from Amarillo, Lubbock. The state, it's on fire, Texas. I mean, things that happen in just excitement. It's the Akard was teasing about coughing this morning and sneezing because he hadn't been in a suit for so long. They had dust on so a lot of new things that are going on out there. But appreciate you guys and the energy and the passion. And again, I keep overstating that because I don't want you guys to walk away with sensing how important your role is to what the work that we do at the workforce level. We couldn't get it done without the support and the efforts that you guys are doing day in and day out. So once again, I'm here for you if I can do anything. Laura, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any questions? Maybe you guys have one, two particular questions. We have a special session coming up as well. Laura, you guys.
And I will tell you, he has an amazing staff, lawyers and advocates, and they are the ones that keep us apprised. So we can't get him, believe me, you will get a call back. Their staff is crackerjack. They were amazing.
For employment law attorneys, and if you got any questions you have, I know there are a lot of things about the vaccination. Do you have to wear a mask, not a mask, vaccinated, not vaccinated? Call us if you have any questions along those lines. We'll get some answers to you. And even town hall meetings, if you belong to organizations that we need to visit with from that standpoint, we do that as well. So any questions, anybody have anything?
All right, Commissioner, every employer has been hit with the fraud of undocumented claims against our employees, and just wonder what the status of that is and if we made any progress identifying.
Yeah, this pandemic is huge. We've had 8 million claims filed. Typically, we would have say 719,000. That's what we had in 1 year. So we were doing the equivalent of 1 year's worth of work in a 1 month time frame. It was pretty amazing. And so while we were handling that particular issue, all of a sudden fraud is there. We kind of knew, but it really hit in a big way. And so we're doing our best to make sure that we are hitting that where we can, purchasing the best materials that are out there for it. And we've done a pretty good job as it compares to other states from that standpoint. And we're not done. We recognize the fraud is out there. And this was a program where we have a bunch of federal dollars coming in and like and process. It was at a level from what I've heard of in areas of cartels, different folks that were hitting this that we typically international markets and the like, that we weren't really came in. We were dealing with it as best we could. It's something that we definitely have at the top of our radar. But when we were hit with the pandemic, we were there, fraud we were addressing. It raised its head pretty quick. Once we tamped down some fires, and that came up pretty quick as well. We're on it. So,
what was the percentage of claims that were received to be fraud?
I forget the number. I don't have the exact percent of that percent, but it wasn't overwhelming from that standpoint. I mean, we don't like anything along those lines. And of course, the numbers did spike up because of the federal dollars that were coming in and the like. And so they weren't anywhere where we used to be. I don't know the exact percentage, but there was a huge spike, just like unemployment.
Yes, because like Carter said, it's a big topic out there, but we'd like to tamp it down by saying, it's a big issue, but it's a relatively small percentage of the claims.
Yeah. Yes, some claims, yes, smaller, but I want to underserve it because we're keeping it on our radar in a big way, but not massive to the point where Texas is swimming in a bunch of fraudulent claims and can't get out. We're handling it.
I was going to say there are a lot more claims than there were actual payments. Many of the claims that were fraud were found before first payment or second payment was issued. So the dollar amount, the number is deceptive.
Yeah.
The dollar amount.
Dollar amounts up before as well, but it's something that's on our radar in a big way. All right, Chairman, I'll let you get on with your board meeting. So thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thanks. We will move forward. Lori, not going to have a whole lot of comment because we got it for it. We got a couple of things we need to vote on. do have a public comment, I believe, but before we do that, Lori has a.
I'm gonna step over here to read this real quick. I think it picks me up, my voice will pick up 20, and it picks up 15 for normal people.
That is one thing real quick, we just got a text that the virtual folks are not really hearing us real clear. Now, the mask probably has something to do with it, but if you do have something to say when it comes to voting, let's make sure they hear. We may have to repeat ourselves if they don't hear.
Welcome to our virtual board members. We will ask you to help us count the votes, guys. We want to make sure you get your voices in this, and it may take just a moment extra, but we want to make sure we have you. I'm looking at Mario's screen. Yesterday was a major day in our community for one of our contractors, one of our dear friends, Child Care Group. They hit their 120th anniversary as a nonprofit. I prepared a resolution for this board. I am sure you will agree. I'd like to read this into the record today. Whereas Child Care Group traces its origin to 1901, is considered to be the first settlement house in Texas. The Clara Chason Free Kindergarten and Training School, located near the corner of present-day Cedar Springs and McKinney Avenue in Dallas, was established with a single purpose: to educate and care for the children of the women who work with Dallas cotton fields. And whereas extensive partnerships and collaboration, including 20+ years as the largest contractor for Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas, have expanded caring for children and teachers, caregivers, to include nutrition and medical services as a holistic philosophy. Over time, one thing has remained constant: a profound commitment to helping families raise intellectually, emotionally, and physically healthy young children. And whereas CCG's spirit, service, professionalism, integrity, respect, inclusion, and teamwork defines their agency. Defines their agency. Their approach and the fine team who gives nothing less than their best. This history of caring remains at the heart of Child Care Group's mission today. And whereas we value and commend the legacy of the CEO leadership dating back to the early 70s with Madeline Mendel, Mike Peen, our own Susan Hall, Betsy Edmondson, Margaret Patterson, and the current steward of the community treasure, Tori Manitz. We further recognize the significant staff who have provided continuity in the subsidy program: Sherry Anderson, Rhonda Rackow, and Mark Rather. And whereas today CCG champions a strong two-generation system that teaches children and parents, trains every childhood professional, and assists families, knowing that children do as their parents do better. And when families thrive, communities succeed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas hereby recognizes the exemplary efforts of Child Care Group on the 120th anniversary as an iconic Dallas nonprofit that has served the Dallas community tirelessly through generations to make a better life for children, their families, and equally important, they have given their time and talent to community and economic development throughout Dallas County. We, the Board of Directors of Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas, commend the organization Child Care Group and congratulate you on a job well done. Wishing you continued success for the good of our community. Approved and signed this day, the 15th of September, 2021. I believe our first speaker is Tori Dennis. Not that we worked it out, Tori.
That's right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you. Good morning, Lori, Workforce Solutions Board. It's wonderful to see you in person, and thank you so much for honoring us with that wonderful resolution. That is just tremendous, and we appreciate you so much. I'll just say, Lori's told you about the founding and our 120th. I'll just tell you that workforce support was a primary reason that our community leaders, many of them women, stepped forward to create this organization. They recognized the need for a safe, nurturing place for children to spend their days while their mothers worked in the cotton mills located around Dallas. Even back then, the need was great. By 1903, 350 children were enrolled in the program, with many more on the wait list. It sounds a little familiar for today. Over the years, we helped deliver many social services, including the first milk stations, dental services, well baby clinics, a teacher training school that later merged with SMU, and more. Throughout this growth, partnerships and collaborations were essential to our services. Many things have changed over the past 120 years, but one thing has not, as Lori alluded to, and that is Child Care Group's deep and abiding commitment to nurture and educate our youngest children and support their parents on a path to greater self-sufficiency. Today, we call that model our two-generation approach, but really, it's been a part of our philosophy and practice model throughout our entire history. Our long partnership with Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas dates back to the creation of the child care management system back in 1991 and has been a vital part of our mission and work. It's an honor every day to collaborate with the Workforce Solutions staff and board to help support both our working families and the providers who educate and care for their children. Please accept our gratitude for the opportunity to serve alongside you as your contractor. Now, as we move forward from the pandemic, we face a major challenge in attracting and hiring qualified professionals to work in the early childhood field. Wages are low, benefits are few, if any, at these programs, and career progression is limited. I want to thank our partners at Equus, especially Stephen Bridges, for helping host our first ever virtual childcare job fair 2 weeks ago. We're having to think outside the box. That was a first for our industry, and we truly appreciate this help from Equus. There's much to be done to ensure that the quality of childcare programs is sufficient to meet the demand of parents needing to return to work. COVID has highlighted many of the challenges in this industry, but we will address them by working together with our partners, just as we have throughout our long history. We thank you, Workforce Solutions, for the opportunity to serve with you and for being such an important part of our past, our present, and our future. Thank you so very much, everyone.
Thank you, Tori. Very, very nice. Congratulations on 120 years.
Yeah, I hope I look that good at 100.
No chance.
And then we're seeing some feedback from panelists, Ellen Torbert, and I saw something from Dr. Stephanie Knight. Connie, are you following online? No. Can you give us the password? For the Wi-Fi? Okay. Sorry, folks, but panelists, if you'd like to say something, that might be easier than texting right now.
I read them all. Sherry said, thank you for honoring us. As Dr. Knight said, I didn't know SMU shared a part of your history.
Yes.
Ellen said, congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. And Rebecca Acuna happens to have a history with Child Care Group as a member of the board. Thank you for that. I do think we are helping them today, though. What I'm asking y'all to do a little later is approve the largest contract ever written by this agency in our history, and it goes to Child Care Group, $130 million. So bravo, hopefully, Tori, that's better than just the resolution. Okay. Bill, all yours.
All right, do we have a, moving forward, a declaration of conflict of interest? Take note of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. May.
Hello, I wanted to declare a possible conflict of interest for item 13, I'm sorry, for DISD.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, Susie. Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Becca, you'll get to vote on that big contract, right? Who else? Oh. Thank you, Nerdy. I bet. Thank you, ma'am. And y'all may have some action. Yeah. Anybody else? Yay. Okay, we're good.
We have a new board member joining us this morning, Tara Collins. And I want to make sure I said that correctly.
You did.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and What brings you to the board? Thank you for your service.
Yes, well, like I said, my name is Tara Collier. I've been with the state of Texas in the Health and Human Services field for 13 years. I've been a program manager for just a little over 3 years now. So I've always wanted to be a part of the workforce board because my dream is to help other individuals accomplish their career goals. So that's why I want to be a part of the board. So I'm happy to be here.
Welcome
So
aboard.
happy to have you.
Join us for our first in-person meeting since February of 2020.
Yes, sir. She was our first hand up for RSVP. She's like, I want to be in the room.
They say in Hamilton, this is the room where it happens. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for joining us and look forward to all your insights. With that, report on the childcare task force.
Sure. So very quickly, you have the notes in your, your board packet about the child care task force that's met a couple of weeks ago. We mainly focus on current funding streams. Lori alluded to the additional dollars, the historical dollars that are going to be flowing through child care, and also the number of children and families that will be impacted. We also spent some time, as Tori talked about, talking about challenges within the industry, particularly looking at employment and the struggles that many child care providers are having in terms of keeping staff or retaining or attracting staff as we move into this next phase of the pandemic world. And then finally, we talked about really looking at gathering data, which the child care group staff is in the process of doing, in terms of really looking at where are we seeing the biggest challenges in terms of staffing, in terms of need not being addressed for parents and families and children. And so I think those are the key issues that we address. We have another meeting coming up, I believe it's next week, September 21st. And we always welcome any board members in addition to those that are serving on the task force to join us.
Thank you all for all your hard work going forward, and I know Laura's excited about this upcoming vote and opportunity
Yes, sir.
that's going to be in front of us. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. After everybody's maybe gone through it and looked at it, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? And second, Lewis. Show of hands, all in favor of the consent agenda approval? On the screen, on the virtual, yeah, raise your hands up high so we can make sure we get those counted.
I think we're good, yes. Full majority.
All opposed? And any abstentions?
Means is expectations. I believe we begin with Ashley. Ms. Turner, as usual.
Good morning. Good to see you all there in the room this morning and at home. I'm Ashley Verner, Chief Financial Officer for the board. The monthly expenditure report begins on page 19 in your board packet this month. All blue lines in this month's packet signify money available in new grants or carryover funding available in grants that will not end prior to October 1st. Thanks, Mario, for throwing that up on the screen. Demetria will be going into much more detail related to the available funds and New Year contracts with Child Care Group, as we mentioned, and Equus. New grants, most beginning on October 1st, are detailed on page 21. And I'm going to keep it very brief this month. That's really all I have for you, but I'm here if you have any financial questions.
And just an add-on, Ashley, we will be, or we did release the application or the RFP for audit and tax preparation yesterday, just to make the public aware. That's for our upcoming cycle for January to begin auditing this 2021 year.
Any questions for Ashley?
questions from the members, virtual members? They're not virtual members, members presenting virtually. Ellen laughed at me, she thought it was good.
All right. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Perez is in the house. Richard, want to step up? Or just anywhere up there. So we don't- Richard, with the good help of Alex this morning and the advice of Dwayne Dankensreiter, brings us this owl that you see in front of you on the tripod, and it supposedly tries to find us in the room we're speaking. It's a cool little apparatus. Thank you, Amazon.
Good morning. My name is Richard Perez. I'm research manager with the board. And on page 23, we have our monthly performance report, the MPR. This month for July, we are missing 5 measures. That's primarily due to the pandemic. The quarter for performance is second quarter of June 2020, which was when things were just starting to get going. There is a bright spot though on the report at the very bottom on page 23, the claimant reemployment within 10 weeks. The Dallas board is #1 in the state, with our neighbor Tarrant County #2 and North Central #3. So the DFW Metroplex is doing very well about getting people back to work, and the best in the state. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And also the next page, Richard, number of employers receiving workforce assistance, we're up to 110%.
Yes, doing very well on that.
So our primary customer is being served, but it is difficult to fill out this job.
So we'll go to the economic snapshot, which is the next page. I'm going to touch a few things. Unemployment down to 5.8%, showing some job gains in the employment number for Dallas County from June to July. And the most important one on the screen, I think, is 99.46. So what that means is the July employment number is almost to where it was in February 2020, which was the highest employment in the whole series that goes back 30 years or so for employment for Dallas County. That's 7,155 jobs fall. So hopefully we'll soon overtake that, but I think the area is doing well on getting people back to work. Just next little factoid, 63% for return to work. And some of the other graphics are taking a dive into healthcare. What percentage they were as far as getting back to work. That top graph looks at healthcare and social assistance as an industry and what their percentages are for going back to work. There's some information on job postings in work in Texas for the last 90 days. The bottom one, registered nurses, that is the #1 position in healthcare that they're looking for, unsurprisingly. And just other information on what some other popular postings are. Computer and office positions in the bottom right corner. But that just shows, it just shows the some other popular positions that people are, that there are job postings in Texas.
And I really appreciate you bringing up healthcare, and I'm going to prize the board. We have the funds for staffing, and we have perhaps not put as much energy in the healthcare sector as we should. So I've worked with Jerry Toussaint and the chamber to talk about pulling someone very much like Mario, works for both agencies. He works for us, he's housed at the chamber. we'd like to reach out and find a superior person in the healthcare industry who would like to serve as our sector leader for 2, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it takes. This is the most critical need in our community, and I think we need to put a lot more energy on it. So we're talking about a high-level person working for us, but very much like under Richard's direction, Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson is one of our trained sector strategists, and Stevie Bridges as well. I just think it's where we need to put our attention right now. Strategic as healthcare is lagging, and it always has, but I think we're getting into a dire territory now. Questions, concerns?
Richard, is it possible to try to drill down some of the data, perhaps when we talk about job recovery and return to work, try to figure out what the demographics look like? Because I know there's a lot of stuff that even the color being at the time and slow to respond to recovery efforts. And so I was just kind of like to know that when we hear the commissioner speak about when families try to be, I'm just a little bit concerned about if there's some level of focus or snapshot on that point.
There is information on demographics. I'd be happy to share that maybe at the next meeting. Or
I think send it out after this meeting.
Yeah, so-
Would. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
I can prepare something and we can send it out very soon.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know, like, United Way has focused on stuff else strides and all of the stuff bubbles up. I think there are a lot of efforts that are going on, but it's just not stuff.
And at the coaching of Mario, since I said his name, he says we didn't hear really well what Michelle asked for. So I'm going to restate real quick. Michelle is asking us to do a deeper dive into the demographic data surrounding the return to work measure. And I think that's credible because when I look at it, Dallas County is thriving at a much higher recovery pace than the city of Dallas. That's the first indicator. So perhaps even some demographic by neighborhood, Richard, we could look at where things are still below what this measure would indicate for countywide return. And I think the judge would appreciate that too. We found that, what was it, 1.4 million, the largest workforce we've ever had in Dallas County right now. And that comes from importing a lot of workers into Dallas County, not necessarily recovery of Dallas citizens. So that's the other side of that conversation. Mario, was that good?
Yep, that was good. Thank you, Lori.
As I say, I could stand another 5 feet. I'm sure.
I thought I was yelling.
It's like in church, you gotta speak to the back.
Yeah.
That ends my report. I will hand it off to, I believe, Demetria.
And this is the big one, drum roll. Everything we have that is actionable, that is critical today, are what would have required an emergency meeting, page 28, 29. Good morning, Dee.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see faces and people moving around. This is awesome. Good morning. I'm Demetria Robinson, Executive Vice President. It is my pleasure to present to you the contracts and agreement items on pages 28 and 29. Each year in September, we seek board approval to contract funds allocated through multiple grants to service providers who operates and manages our workforce programs. All services have been procured, and we recommend extending an additional year with each of the following providers based upon existing and enhanced services, past expenditure levels, available grant funds, and negotiated terms. First is the Workforce System Operations Contract with Equus Workforce Solutions, who manages our 8 American Job Centers and operates workforce programs throughout Dallas County. The proposed 12-month initial contract budget consists of approximate amounts for operations and pass-through funds totaling just above $12 million, as outlined in the chart below. As noted, the approximate amounts are results of our analysis of carryover funds and new allocations to determine 1, ongoing COVID costs, primarily staffing, 2, obligations in individual training accounts to be paid, and 3, budget for new customer activities. You'll see the amounts outlined in the chart by funding source, totaling the $12 million. Any questions on that one? I'm going to read through each of the items and then we'll take action on all if that's okay.
See, that does show a marked decrease in the management funding. It was over 14 million last year, and that was due to special funding and carryover money. So this will require some resizing of the center staff.
Absolutely. Any other questions on Equus? Comments? Okay, I'll move on. I'll keep moving. Second is Child Care Services contract with Child Care Group. Congratulations on 120 years of service. Child Care Group provides our management and operations of child care services in Dallas County. In an effort to tackle the continued challenges of the child care industry, there has been a significant amount of federal dollars coming to states to assist with those efforts. In preparation of the increases, changes, and additional requirements, CCG will need to build capacity and eligibility in financial personnel and to improve cybersecurity. The initial proposed contract budget consists of operational and direct care funds in the amount of $130 million. 130, it's so hard to say that. It's a lot of money. $130,700,000. Of that amount, $46 million is specific for child care to individuals working in the service industry as identified by the state. And these funds cover activities for more than 1 year with a target to serve 5,792 children. That target is separate from our original target of 12,887 proposed for this year for serving an average number of children served per day through our regular funding. So this is big. This is very different for us. We know child care is capable, Child Care Group is capable of providing the services, but they're going to need some additional assistance with it. Any questions on Child Care Group?
There is a modest increase in operating costs on Child Care Group, 5.7 million. That is still a very frugal overhead, but we increased it over the past. You cannot do this in a minor way. We have to throw everything we have at it and make sure we secure all of these funds and serve all of these community persons. This is going to be tough, especially the service industry. This is people that are willing to take a job in service or already have one. They get 1 full year of child care without income verification. And at the end of that year, they have to then qualify on all other fronts. It's a gift. It's a shot in the arm. It's part of their income. You can imagine being able to save the cost of child care, but it has to do with service industry jobs. Phenomenal efforts on behalf of the state. We congratulate TWC for being so innovative. Sorry, Dee, keep going.
Do we want to discuss these?
Yeah, we can. We could take this one up because the next category is quality. So yes, get out of it.
Yeah, let me just, well, first I want to congratulate Tori and Child Care Group for 120 years of service. It's a remarkable story, and I thought that the story that was documented in the Dallas Morning News was really special, and something that we should all reflect on. But this is a big contract, obviously, and as you said, the biggest contract. So I just have real basic. I don't really understand all of the merits here, but so what's our historical annual contract? What is it?
Historically, we have worked our way up to 80 million, 70 to 80 million. Yes,
So
the big jump is the new service industry category.
Okay, so that's, and again, I'm trying to get my head around this. So the delta between the 80 and the 130. Tell me a little bit more about that. I know we've done that already.
Sure. The difference is that they did increase a little bit of the money that we're getting for normal child care, which is needs tested, families making under a certain wage, shared cost. There's a parent shared cost. The good things this year, we did get an increase in rates for child care. We will be able to pay more in the Dallas market October 1 for those who qualify. It's all based on quality that the school brings to the table while it is licensed. facility. We know that the service industry is going to be a struggle because it's going to have to be monitored very carefully. You cannot do more than 12 months of care. You also then have to be able to retain each one 12 months. So it's almost a purchase order system. Once you enroll them, book that money for 12 months and don't go over the duration of the contract. So it's temporary money and it causes a hiccup in staffing, but it does not require the same intensity of eligibility that we would see in the subsidized care that we normally work with. So there is a little difference there. So I think it's more on the cost controls that I'm concerned about.
So then, I assume that in the next fiscal year, it will drop back to 80 million?
Not necessarily. Every year we think that it's one-time money, we will never see it again. I believe that the potential in Congress right now is to bring more and more dollars to child care. How and in what format? They are looking finally at like our input, which is let's not pay for seats and try to support the child care industry in a more substantial way. We're not sure what that means. We're also having side conversations with the ISD. They've now devoted 2 campuses to early child. So we're seeing a lot of movement. We're seeing money shared. Dr. May and the college established the Early Learning Institute. I mean, they are throwing a lot of resource and private resource at the topic. So it depends on what Congress decides should happen. Will it be more public funding? I think we're going to have a meeting with the Dallas Chamber and Congresswoman Johnson's office later in October regarding what is the solution for child care. How do we keep people working and keep their children cared for? And my goodness, that's the whole story of how child care group came to be. There was a solution so that women could be part of the workforce. We're back to that square. We're back to talking about how do we do this, because work from home didn't seem to work if you have a toddler. You know, it was not necessarily the cure.
It's a different kind of work.
Oh my goodness, yes. But truly, Kim, we just keep seeing the cost go up. Dee, please add. I didn't mean to.
Lori, so if I'm hearing correctly, Congress gave more money to the states for childcare.
Absolutely.
The state and or Congress said, hey, we have a problem in the service industry. We're going to use this as an incentive to get people back. So we're getting more money. We, workforce, is getting more money from the federal government. And now we've got to allocate them. And that represents how much of this?
Yes.
130.
All of the money is federal. But what's exceptional is that Texas decided to address the service industry. They didn't have to. But this is a lot of the CARES Act money. These are the special initiative dollars. And last year, this year actually, Texas threw money directly at the subsidies to the centers. These are unique to Texas. Now they're hearing it from other states as well, I'm sure, but what you do with that money needs to be creative and supportive of the industry. And kudos to Reagan Miller at TWC and her team. She has a phenomenal team that's looking at this from every angle. And I think Susan will agree, we've seen this is unprecedented change in support of childcare.
Oh, yes.
At the state and at the federal.
At the federal. And but to Rebecca's point, these are federal dollars.
Yes.
Yes, it's not really.
We don't send your
dollars,
state.
these are dollars. And so it's highly dependent, I would say, on the federal.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think it's going to be time.
Right, my point is, we're not just from our past funding that was allocated, we're not upping what we typically give from our other years. It's because we've got additional money specifically to address this.
Right, these are all categorical funds. We did though, however, get a rate increase in the Metroplex. And for Dallas, that's phenomenal. We have had a substantial rate increase to the vendors in a long time. So I'm excited about that.
And so is that why, just a little piece here, so the proposed target of kids is 12,800.
Yes.
It's a little lower than what it was.
Because it'll cost more to do it right.
Because we have a higher reimbursement.
Yes, ma'am. Thankfully, they take that into consideration when the new numbers came out. That's where they peaked our dollars. And again, we had to increase our management of that contract.
And the reimbursement rate is higher primarily because we're funding the child care workers. childcare?
Actually, the rates went up based upon a long-standing survey process that's done by usually UT or anything else. They do a survey of what the market will bear in each area. Dallas has historically had a low return on the survey and extremely low rates that the neighborhoods would support. So we have to go with the published rate. We can never pay more than what the citizen would pay for care. But we saw a jump this time. So more people entered the survey and prices are going up. Now, will that hurt the private pay person? We don't know. But that's what came in the survey was a bump finally, that we're seeing that we can pay more for care in our community. Again, not more than the published rate.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing any of this. I'm just trying to understand.
No, appreciate the
To
question.
me, we're going to serve a fewer number of people and we're adding $50 million.
Well, no, I think the big number, the 12.9, let's say, that's the standard, and then there's this additional money that is for the service industry, which is this about 46 million, am I got that right?
Total is 55,
And
46 million.
so you add about almost 5,800 children to be served by service industry plus the 12.9, so it's actually a little bit more, but
Thank you for the clarification. That's really.
Trying to keep it separate.
That's part of it. What I was.
And Kim, right now, we have 14,000 kids in care every day. So we are going to go through the trimming to get to the right number. But we do have some carryover in the month of October. So, and we push no child out of care.
right.
So, but it's such an important budgeting matter.
But I think, and to me, a seminal issue is too, that we have raised, and, you know, and within reason, the admin
Yes.
cost to go to childcare group, because it is a threading of a needle
Yes,
math problem on a every single day issue to make sure that you don't go over, because you can't go over.
Right.
So anyway, I think that is one thing I would say on that, because childcare group does, as we all know, a phenomenal job. But there's only so much you can do
Yes.
with the amount of overhead.
We weren't sure what the cloning price would be for Sherry and Wanda, but we're going to look into it.
Money, is there any contingency on receipt of the money or that's?
It's here. I've already got a contracted grant in my hand. The state is even early this year for October 1 grants. Almost all of them are signed and waiting. So it's done deal.
Just curious from the financial perspective, do we actually have those monies in hand?
Ashley can order the money with a 3-day supply in the bank. We cannot order more than we can spend in a 3-day period. So, but that means we're ordering 2 million a week sometimes just to make payments. And I actually do the draws. Ashley sets up the account. So we don't want to, we don't want to give the bank that much interest, but it's federal rules, 3-day cash on hand.
I was thinking we can get a workforce commission.
Yes.
Then it's an arbitrage opportunity here or something, but nevertheless, okay, thank you.
Great questions, Ken, helpful.
And I'll just add to that, so to help Ken on the question that he asked, the regular allocation for childcare, we had an increase of 6.5% over last year. So in our regular funding. So that's why we see a little increase in the operations as well to childcare group and the direct care.
Yeah, I think we can go to quality.
All righty. Next is the renewal of child care quality contracts with our existing providers. Child care group, Dallas College, first 3 years, Campfire, and my apologies, please amend the list by adding Together for Children, who currently provides taking charge of change, and that's an intensive director's boot camp training that we contract out with Together for Children. And we're seeking approval to contract at approximately the same amounts as the previous year based on their performance from what we've seen thus far and availability of funds. We are anticipating additional quality funding as TWC continues to incorporate new guidelines to the Texas Rising Star program. We will incorporate the changes as required and seek additional services as necessary. Any questions on that one? If not, I'll keep moving to professional services. Okay. Lastly, we have professional service agreements expiring at September 30 for fiscal and program compliance monitoring, as well as technology management services. Procurement was conducted for the technology management services. Our current provider was the only respondent, QNet Information Services. Their proposal was evaluated and scored based on the RFP criteria. The initial proposed contract budgets for Christine Wynn, which is CPA, for financial compliance monitoring is $150,000. Juanita Forbes and Associates for program compliance monitoring at $165,000, and then QNet Information Services for technology management services at $450,000. Any questions? Laura, you like to add anything on that one? For
quick point, we've added some money to Christine Wynn. Christine's a fabulous CPA. I'd like her to go out and consult with Child Care Group and with Equus this year early on. Not a pre-award, these people have got it together, but we want to just see capacity is there and talk to the folks on the ground. So we thought we'd add a visit there or two. Also, QNet must help us come into full compliance with the state plan for cyber protection. So that price has gone up pretty substantially because we have to buy some tools, we have to write a plan, and it's due in Austin in November. But Larry Hall is a great friend. He's been working with us with the state for quite some time and sat through all of the AT&T briefings when we went through that process. So I think we're ready. It's just everything is costing more. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you. How often do we go out to bid for our compliance monitoring services?
Every 4 years, unless there's a problem, Ken, and QNet was the one that was up this year, so they did compete. Did get a lot of takers for that, and definitely not in the ballpark of their money, and all three are minority authorities.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 5, Dee.
Okay, we'll take recommendation on board authorization on those contracts that were presented.
This item comes up very often, but we were really worried we weren't going to have a quorum today. These contracts must be authorized for October 1, but we really don't know what comes next. So we were on a call with the Department of Labor, and they specifically asked every board, can you move and implement in less than 30 days without going back to the boards? We did this under ARRA. We really did. They said summer program. We said, yes, sir. Let's do it. You know, we put the money in. We apprised the board after we received the money. It's very likely that's what's on the horizon, is a call to action on any of these funds that are dispersed. We're getting into a period where we have fewer board meetings, even if we could be virtual all the time, which we're still looking into that. John Dickey is with us today. And we did talk to the commissioner, and he's going to be back with him on this about our virtual meetings continuing. Had today not happened, we could have held another meeting by telephone. We're following the rules, so that state rules protects us at the meetings, but we would have a 72-hour notice to the community and a telephone meeting for urgent matters. This could be covered with an urgent meeting, but we still have to try to hold that in-person meeting. So the time element is stretching us out. So we put a cover-all statement, which we have done over the summer months. We have the October meeting, and then we are done until January. So if this money were to come in late November, we would have to try to hold an in-person meeting, then host an emergency meeting, and that may take too long. So this is an authorization for me to act on behalf of the board to receive funds that are in keeping with other funds we've received. Now, I will throw out one more thing. The mayor's office is working with Dr. May and myself, our staffs, to orchestrate, hopefully, an interlocal agreement, an ILA, which would allow the city to invest workforce money in our systems from these special funds. So as our money comes, the mayor would have a conduit, described, plan to funnel money directly into the two systems. That's in the infancy. We're talking about an early 2023 or 22 activity, but it's gonna take some massaging. I talked to Austin people yesterday. Austin and San Antonio's already done it. San Antonio took 50 million of CARES Act and Austin took over 10 million and pushed it through their workforce system. So I'm hopeful we'll see a little of that. We need the infusion. We're really low on funds to put people in training, particularly current workers in upskilling. Thank goodness the community college has a $10 million grant. We are partnering on that, and that will help us, but we really do not have abundant resources if we go up, and we're expecting money. So that's why this was written in, to say there's a cover statement. You need to be aware of what's afoot, what the expectation is from the government, and I think as long as the money is in keeping with other things that we do, it's not extraordinary, we could sign and accept and approve.
I think the key is the price.
Absolutely, and if we could hold our emergency.
Certainly as we get into
Yes.
deadline.
Yes,
Next month is the award recognition, so really we're gonna have about a 3-month period of a dead period before we get back to schedule. So anything may happen between now and then.
it's gonna be difficult. If this is norm, and we get a quorum, I mean, we are here about one extra person. Imagine what that turns into as we get into the more active travel and holiday seasons of November and December. So we just need to be prepared.
Any more questions? Very good questions so far. If there's any more.
I was in a presentation yesterday by the CEO from the city.
Yes.
And they were talking about their expectation for stimulus dollars, $355 million. And she specifically said at this board meeting yesterday that one of the highest priorities is for working. I'm not sure I want to wow, that's exciting.
Yes.
Can you describe a little bit more specifically about this interlocal agreement? Because I spoke to the mayor about that in the past, but I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Yes, sir. The question was interlocal agreement. If we have something with the city, what does that look like? The interlocal agreement is an apparatus for city government, county government, and organizations that fall into governmental. Can't do it with nonprofits. The reason we're quasi-governmental, so we can participate. It does not require procurement. It is a set agreement between the government partners to share resources with a specific outcome. Right now, we don't know the volume, we don't know the dollar amount, we don't know the specific. I'm asking that they pick either a location or an industry for focus. A laser shot right now would be a lot better than just another layer scattering. We've had several meetings, we're gonna have a few more. We're checking the other communities of Texas to see what they did with it. I believe my colleague in Austin said that her price point to the city was about $8,000 per. And they simply took it as a separate silo of money to do the same thing we do in our workforce centers, but with specification of what industry, what jobs. Love to do that in medical. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Is to have something very concentrated on upskilling our medical profession, because it won't have the same red tape that we have in the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act. It's highly restricted and bureaucratic program. When you get into this other money, you can design what will benefit your community.
You said you specifically mentioned Dallas College.
Correct.
What about the ISDs that operate with that?
There is a standing ILA with the ISD and the mayor, actually the city manager, Rod Max, and that was to do the Wi-Fi support for last summer for all kids in education. So these are the kinds of models that follow. The ISD does under 18. Let's just say that's their purview. And I meet with them very consistently. I love their new people. They're very interested in workforce. Richard has helped them to try to find teachers that are unemployed, people who could be upskilled and certified to teach. So we're working very closely. We're now shopping for monitors, mentors for them. They need people to help the kids. What I think they're focused on now is Joe's system and our system are the most dominant workforce models in the community. Use what we've got. He's got 8 campuses, we've got 8 community centers, and we both have our own overhead funding. So the money that comes through could be best utilized directly to the customer. with a little bit of overhead and admin. So that's what they're looking at. And I don't think there's any other government entity that operates in our space.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna be hard to work out. The lawyers are already on it. I've asked the city to start with city lawyers. I've had this blow up twice when we've tried it before, and it always comes down to the city lawyers who say, nah. So it has to be a win-win and a quid pro quo. We do not want a contract that is, you take the risk, we'll send you money later. This has to be working in tandem. We don't have open money. All of our money is highly restricted, as you can see. Everything is predicated on the service population and an eligibility standard. But their money could provide a lot of flexibility. And I've pitched to the city before, twice, a summer jobs program would be excellent. The second thing would be upskilling communities of people who are the working poor. Don't focus so much on the unemployed. As Richard says, we're almost fully back. What about the underemployed who don't show up in that number, but they're living in communities on, family of four making 30,000 instead of the 25 for eligibility? We need something to. Sorry, I could go on forever. I did tell you all the short meeting. I will quit. I get excited when we see money for solutions.
Good question. Ken, are there any other questions? What we'll do moving forward is acceptable. We'll vote on all 5
Yes, sir. It's one.
contracts and agreements. No more questions? Anybody virtual have any questions or concerns?
Please.
All right. Then do I have a motion to approve all 5 contracts and agreements as recommended?
Second.
Decision second. Ken? All in favor, show of hands.
I have 2 abstentions in the room and everybody else is a yes. Connie, for the record. Online, I'm seeing Ellen, Stephanie. I can't see all of them. Can you put it on gallery for us, Mario, please?
That's gonna be have to done at the inside the room.
Okay. Can you simply hit the blue arrow so I can see other hands? I've got Molly, Ellen, Stephanie, Dan. I don't see Kevin, I know he's on. Can you keep going to the right, Maya? Let's see who else. If I haven't called your name and you're voting, please say something. Susie. Susie, thank you, ma'am. Yes, I got, oh, Bessie also. Okay, well, that is definitely a majority. I just don't believe anybody's vote off the table.
Is there any opposed? Same sign? Any notice the abstention?
The abstentions in the House are Melinda and Rebecca. The abstentions online. Anyone? Kevin, gotcha.
All right. So. Motion passed.
Believe it or not, I got everything I need to say in that 1 hour and 9 minutes. And I apologize, but we did get a commissioner to visit. Come on, folks.
In my 10 years, that's the first. I tell you what, it's been an interesting year for sure, and we're in a moving target right now with what's going on currently. And even though the numbers were very, very good through July, be anxious to see what happens through August and September since we didn't. But a lot of people are got some concerns that are certainly out there, but I think we're taking responsibility right here about doing our mask and having social distancing. I'm involved in the state fair. We're going to have a state fair, but there are some requirements out there also. But just prayers for everybody, for all of our families over the next several months before we leave again for travel, and just that we can put this issue over behind us.
Take your extra mask, pass it along if you don't need it, please.
Definitely, yeah.
The lovely little mask.
A few of us thought this was a cookie. Wow. It's not a cookie. We're all missing out. Next week, we are gonna have one in October, it'll be the awards, and as we're moving forward here the next couple of weeks, Lori, let us
It
know.
is on the 20th, no. Yeah,
Yeah,
20th, 7:30 at Gillies on What with Lamar, now Bob and Jean, and great parking. We have a huge room, so we can spread out, but we still will have limited attendance, and so a lot of the awards may be virtual.
But please feel free to come, it'll be, if you've been to Gillies before, a lot of room there, a lot of nice awards and folks and companies to be recognized, so, please put that on your calendar.
November 4th, we will have Hiring Red, White, and You, which is the governor's statewide veterans job fair, also at Gillies. And we'll be doing virtual, so it'll be a virtual hybrid with an in-person visit at Gillies. Stephen, if you're available, when is the judges' job fair? Anyway, it's October. I will get the dates out to you. He is having his usual job fair, but he has asked for open air, so we're shopping the farmer's market. And that would be in October, good time of year, you know, for the weather.
Yeah.
We hope, my luck, it'll flood, but anyway. I can't thank you enough, members, for showing up for us today. You just have no idea. This was
A blessing to see real faces.
Yes.
Not only virtually, but certainly in person. So thank all y'all for making the effort to come down and have a great rest of the day. The meeting is adjourned.
Great meeting.
Morning.
Yes, sir, you're